Well, hello. This is too creepy for me to stay on anymore. Oh man, the fade out in the back doesn't really work here, but that's fine. Welcome to another live stream here with OOMM Games. Great to be here with you. Excited to kind of jump into all that we're going to talk about on October 31st. You'll have noticed that we are starting a new series called Countdown to Stone Saga. Stone Saga is our new game from designers Max Brook and Luke Eddy that is coming to Kickstarter in early 2023. And up until launch, which is in February, up until launch, we are going to be doing a weekly live stream, developer's diary, kind of just the whole rollout package. So for those of you who are interested, we'll get to know a lot about the game. And you can ask questions throughout this process. We'll kind of save some time at the end to walk through any Stone Saga questions that you might have. And we will also have a little bit of a kind of update housekeeping for all of the other OOMM projects at the end of this episode. So, but before we kind of get going, let's just take a step back. This first episode, it is titled "The Idea." So, a while ago, I'm trying to remember, but I think it was when I first played Pandemic Legacy, and Gloomhaven were two of the first board games that I played that introduced me to this world of persistent mechanics. Right, this idea that you can make a decision in one game and it would impact a future game. And this is growing up in the world of video games. I remember playing Morrowind and like building my first home computer so that I could play Morrowind. And I remember it being such an incredible experience that you could like actually impact and change the world, right? And I didn't understand, but there's large sense of like persistence that was at play in my enjoyment. And for for the longest time, I didn't understand that you could actually do that in board games. And then so once we've had this kind of new kind of step of different games introduce these levels of persistence, I got immediately excited, and I'm like, okay, hey, what can we do? And just as I was kind of starting my design journey, with OOMM Games, yeah, I made this game called Stars of Ikarios. So that was launched at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, and we completed it's a kind of as a big sci-fi campaign game with we did a couple kind of unique things where we took several different mechanics, types of mechanics. We had our space combat, our world exploration, and our space exploration. We smashed it together, and we got this massive box. And Stars of Ikarios was born, and really happy about it. And learned a ton through the process. Learned some great things to do, some bad things to do. Thankfully, we have the opportunity to kind of put out a second edition, which we'll be doing. But going through that experience, I was like, okay, I think we're just actually scratching the surface of what persistence looks like in a board game. And kind of during that time, as I was finishing up development on Ikarios, I got this idea for Mythwind. And Mythwind, I wanted to kind of capture the chill experience of building up a village and progressing your character with friends. That Stardew Valley-esque experience. And the idea grew and evolved and changed quite drastically. But we're doing something new with Mythwind that I don't actually think has been done in other board games. It's persistence kind of to the next level, in the sense that the game actually has no distinct ending. You can start and stop with whatever characters you choose to play. It's completely asymmetrical depending on the role, whether you're a farmer, or innkeeper, or merchant, whatever it is. And we launched on Kickstarter about a year ago, and we ended up raising like 1.2, 1.3 million Canadian. blown away by the reception and the support that we had by the community on it. And we're actually literally just about to send files from that process into from Mythwind uh, into our community. Hey, Devin. Sorry, I got Colton's message. I'm gonna do all the Q&As for Stonesaga at the end of this at the end of this kind of post. And so, as we wrapped up Mythwind, wrapping up Mythwind, I am confident that the level of progression and the type of persistence that we're introducing is going to be so novel, so unique for our players in a game that's actually just quite fun. So really, really excited about that. But even then, I've been like, okay, what are some what are some other things that we can do, other areas that we can tap into with persistence? And then I got this idea, and it wasn't called Stonesaga at the time. I think it was called like Tribal Survive or something. But I got this idea for like this Stone Age era survival game, right? And I was like, it would be so cool, right? If at the end of each game session you would open up the box, and on the box lid, on the inside of the box lid, would be this like cave wall, and you would actually like sketch out, stick figure style, different activity of what happened during your session of Stone Saga, during your session of the game. So, let's say you were foraging and you ran across a bear and the bear ate you, right? You could sketch out this little diagram, and you didn't have to be good, whatever it is. But, and then the next game, maybe one of your characters trips and falls into the ice and then drowns, or whatever it is, or you build a village, or you build this new building, uh and then after 5, 10, 20, 30 sessions, you would open up the box, and right there on the inside of the box lid, you would have an entire history of a tribe, an entire history of this kind of emergent Stone Age civilization. And maybe one tribe kind of comes and goes, and then there's another one, and you have all these different histories on this stone wall. And like, imagine lending the game to a friend, or maybe you sell it after you've played it for a long time, and they open up the box and they just have this entire history on the inside of the box. That's the idea. That's like literally the experience that I had in mind when thinking about Stone Saga. And I ended up reaching out to a designer named Max Brook, and Max, I believe, had recently just left Fantasy Flight Games. He was a designer on several properties, including the second edition of X-Wing, and second edition of X-Wing, and the Legends of the Five Rings RPG. And so he has a deep history of experience in game design and role playing games. And I was like, hey, Max, like, what do you think of this idea? So we chatted a bit, and then we entered into like a month long kind of like trial process, where Max developed some initial concepts of what this potentially could look like. And I believe this is like a year and a half ago now. So we had spent a long time, and then after that month, we loved the direction we're going in. So we ended up signing Max for a game design contract to develop the game that would become Stone Saga. In the process, Max, I think, realized that the game was going to be huge, and so he brought on additional help. His friend, another former Fantasy Flight game designer named Luke Eddy, and Luke was pretty big in the Star Wars Legion community and Star Wars Legion game design, and all of that. And so he, the two of them have been hard at work on Stone Saga since, and we're. I'll be honest, like, we're at this point where we've sent our kind of press kit files to the printer. We're doing up miniature design. We're doing up we're miniature printing, getting the trays printed, a bunch of different things for the game, and it is ramping up to be something uh, something epic. There is a real sense of persistence and progression in this game that is probably unlike anything that I thought, in a good way, and in the way where you, there's not necessarily there's not really a heavy-handed story. It's very much an emergent gameplay design, emergent narrative, emergent stories being told throughout the process, and um, and it's going to be tied in this idea of leaving your mark, which is so significant in the game. Right, it comes back to this cave wall instance, and it's cool. Like so, full circle. That initial idea actually hasn't been lost, where uh, we have players instructed, when they complete certain events, instructed to actually mark up their cave wall with a certain marking, and then we give them that marking. Hey, draw this kind of like Stonehenge type thing on your cave wall. And future mechanics, future actually game design areas in Stonesaga will actually ask, "Hey, do you have this mark on your cave wall?" And it's a real neat kind of like closing the circle, and and really like keeping your decisions like permanent in a sense, going forward, right? So much other kind of elements of persistence that we're playing with in Stone Saga. The thing that I've talked to people in the past, and um, I'll show right here, is we have this tray system, and this is a prototype we have, but this tray system actually allows each game that we play to be completely unique, right? You build out your map, and there's different regions, there's different environments. This is our lush valley environment, and as you kind of discover regions, you'll be flipping them over. You'll be expanding your hex, your kind of your land mass, your continent, really. And the game will come with several of these, and you'll be kind of growing out your region in unique ways, right? Everybody's game of Stone Saga is going to look different, and then these all kind of go in the box. There's a nice lid that snaps them shut to keep the persistence going from session to session. Really slick, really cool, and really easy to kind of to jump in. And so this is like us, right? When over the next couple months, we're going to be doing these kind of bite-sized snippets of Stone Saga, right? This one just kind of get your feet wet about the big idea for the game. And as we go, you can ask questions, and we'll kind of respond. But yeah, actually, and speaking of questions, we have Colton, who asked, "Have you played Ark Survival Evolved PC? I'm hoping it will be like that." So Ark Survival Evolved, I have played it just a little bit not on PC. I played it on my Xbox. I don't know if that's the same or if that's different, but I played it a little bit on Xbox, and in some ways, I think Ark has like dinosaurs in it, right? um, so Stone Saga is not really like a dinosaur game. It's not at all. We do have monsters, these big behemoths that roam the land, but we do share a couple very similar mechanics with Ark. Right, there is a hunger and like a thirst kind of thing. If you're not feeding yourself and drinking water, then you're not going to have energy to do actions, and your character is kind of more susceptible to danger. There's a level of survival. Your characters can die in a game. Your characters also age throughout different game sessions, and then you'll have opportunities to have players kind of join in whenever they want, because they get to create a new member of the tribe. There is a heavy heavy element of crafting and base building in the game. The base building is a little bit more abstract, just in the sense that it's done through cards. It's we have these we have oh come on, you can do it, you can do it. We have these overlay tiles that will go on top of the hex tray. And these also save in, and these kind of are like, so this one here is like your settlement. If you build an initial settlement, you place this overlay so you know where it is. And when you're at your settlement, you get different bonuses, and then uh, different access to the various structures that you bought and their special abilities. But yeah, so lots of crafting. We'll spend a whole day talking about the crafting system, because it is that unique. Yeah, it's really driven by a discoverability in crafting, which means that you can see two items, and you can imagine, okay, if I smash them together, I'm gonna get like a stone knife, or I'm gonna get like a club. You can kind of actually see that and anticipate that before you attempt to craft your items, and it's it's um it's going to be developed in such a way where you're going to be learning about recipes as you go. Sometimes you'll be given recipes for items from the various resources that you can collect and gather, discover lots and lots of cool stuff. So yeah, Colton. Oh yeah, okay, perfect. You mentioned that survival and crafting is what I was thinking. So we're doubling down on that idea, right? Of Stone Saga being a survival crafting cooperative board game. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't know if I should call it, because it's completely like a video game term, but I'm treating it like a next generation board game. It's like a next gen board game, where I do think the market, especially in the hobbyist world, we want to see progression, but maybe we don't want to be tied to like a campaign game like Pandemic Legacy or Gloomhaven or Oathsworn or Stars of Icarios, right? We want the ability to jump into a game whenever, just like, hey, like, come play this game with me. And you can set it up, and you can play a session of the game, and regardless of whether or not people are around for the next session, you can just start up and do the same thing. So this is what we're doing with Stone Saga, where you do have characters that you'll grow attached to, but they'll age up. If you play a character right from one game to the next, actually it starts as young, then it becomes old, and then if it survives, it becomes a legend that goes into your tribe, and then you can actually use different legendary abilities to help out your former ancestors, to help out in different present actions. And the system that we're making really layers on the sense of progression, that each game matters and it changes the overarching world, but it's done in such a way where players can drop in, drop out. You could pass along this copy of Stone Saga, and you see this emergent history unfold, but you're not necessarily tied to a set campaign. Obviously, people are probably going to want to experience the whole thing in their gaming groups, but if you don't, or you have multiple gaming groups, you can jump in. John Baker has a question. You mentioned video games, and personally, survival video games are my favorite, like Valheim, Grounded, Conan Exiles. Were there any video games that inspired Stone Saga? Hey John, thanks for joining. So you mentioned a couple of new ones. Grounded is like super new. It's basically, for those of you who don't know, Grounded is like a Bug's Life survival game. So you're kind of shrunk down to the size of a small bug. Really cool. I played a bit of it on Game Pass, and by bit I mean like 10 minutes. And then I don't know, I had to leave or something. So I didn't play much of it. I have played Valheim a lot. Valheim's great. I actually downloaded it on my Steam Deck, which is fantastic. John, for me, the survival game that I've probably spent the most time playing, I think Don't Starve. Sorry, Don't Starve Together. My wife and I, we've spent a ton of time playing Don't Starve, and It's a blast, right? It has all the mechanics. It's a little bit whimsical, but Don't Starve was the big one. It's fascinating to think that games like Don't Starve, No Man's Sky, um, even Minecraft. These are like survival crafting video games that have really shaped a lot of the current video game ethos, and oddly that there hasn't been a solid, at least in my mind, a solid board game kind of interpretation of what a survival crafting game looks like. And so I'm excited to begin showing Stone Saga because I believe Stone Saga kind of hits that. Cool. Hey, so this is, I'm planning on keeping these episodes around 20 minutes as we do a deep dive into a topic. We'll be doing this on a weekly basis at 2 p.m. Pacific or 4 p.m. Central Time. You can come with your questions. Once in a while, I think next week I'm going to try to get Max or Luke on the stream and podcast here, so that we can, chat with the designers. Hopefully, maybe we'll bring in the artist or whatever it is. We're going to be showcasing a lot of great components as we go. But today, I just wanted to do a deep dive into the idea and really the origins of Stone Saga. So, moving on from Stone Saga, just a little quick highlight on where we're at with our other projects. Stars of Icarios, lots of parts fulfillment is happening, ongoing. Everything should have been out last week, at least that hadn't been submitted last week. But Devin, Kevin, and the team, they're taking care of things really right now. And Bridge has done some outstanding work on helping getting those parts out. Bridge is our fulfillment partner in the US, so thank you, everyone who's been patient with us on that. We have inked a deal with our expansion designer for Stars of Icarios. We'll talk more about this in the future, but we had a friend of OOMM Games basically create an expansion with, they just they got their copy of Icarios, sent it in, and then sent in this expansion. It was like, hey, like I made this fun thing, and so we asked if they would want to develop it out to a more full kind of fledged expansion, and so they're going to do that. Really excited about that for our Icarios second edition, which is coming out sometime in 2023. And then Mythwind, like I mentioned at the beginning, Mythwind is wrapping up. We are currently doing the final rulebook revisions. There's like 6 rulebooks in this game, which is again wild. One for each character. You don't have to read all 6, but one for each character. And then so Adam Baker, our rulebook editor, is jumping in on that, which is great, and it just means a lot of work for our graphic design. And Nathan and I we're going to play test until we're finished. We're really happy with how the game is. We've been spending hours and hours in the game, and we're just going to continue ironing out the wrinkles until we finish with the graphic design. And that's kind of where we're at. Quick and sweet for our other projects, and looking forward to joining you next week for the countdown to Stone Saga episode 2. All right. Hey, take care.